This is November 9th, 1996. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Specialist Charles Egan at the 486 Civil Affairs Battalion in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Where were you born?
I was born in Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
And when's your birthday?
It's April 2nd, 1975.
Okay. When did you first join the military?
May 10th, 1993.
Active duty or reserves?
Reserves.
Okay. Which unit did you join?
This unit.
This unit, okay. Why the Army over the Navy, Marines, Air Force?
Well, my dad was a sergeant in Vietnam, in the Army. And before that, my grandfather had been in the Army. And so it's kind of, runs in the family. So ever since World War II, there's been somebody in the family that's been active duty at some point in their life, or at least in the reserves. So sort of following in their footsteps.
Why civil affairs?
Well, two reasons actually. First reason was it was probably the only job in the military where I could actually help people in other nations improve their lives dramatically, and actually be in contact with the local civilian populace on a regular basis. And that was something that sounded pretty good to me. It sounded really exciting. The second reason was they had pretty good benefits package, you could call it, a bonus and that sort of thing that they offered me right out of high school. And there was no way to find a job equivalent right out of high school. So those were the two reasons.
Where'd you go to basic?
I went to basic training at Fort Jackson.
Tell me about basic.
About basic?
Yeah.
Well, it was actually, I have to admit, it was rough and stressful, but it was kind of enjoyable because of the people I was with. It was I was with Charlie 161 at Fort Jackson, and from everything I've ever been told about that particular company is that they continually score higher and achieve more than any of the other companies on that base. And it was true. While we were there, we were normally in the 80 to 90 percentiles on qualifications for everything. And we had, I believe, 4 guys qualify Hawkeye on BRM. So it was like, it was unheard of. We had a general, the base commander came down and congratulated us all at the end of BRM. And it was, that was nice. And I had a great drill sergeant. His name was Drill Sergeant Seacrest. He was out of the 101st. Never forget that guy. He taught me a lot. Squared me away quite a bit.
What do you remember about him?
What do I remember about him? The way everybody jumped when he came down the hallway, for starters. He was, if you looked at him, he looked like a real quiet, real professional, nice guy. But if you pissed him off, he was the worst drill sergeant to piss off. I remember one day he dropped me for push-ups. And I was on the hill inclined about like this. I was doing incline push-ups and he walked away. But he turned back around and I was on 50 something. He told me, "Recover, get back over here." He asked me, he said, "Specialist, what are you doing still down? Get over here." He had never told me to recover, so it was like, doing push-ups, drill sergeant. But he was pretty impressive. When we graduated, he came out and he had more ribbons and medals and awards on him than the base commander even did. I mean, the guy was stacked. He was a really squared away, really great guy to work for that short period of my life. Made quite an impression.
What's your fondest memory of basic?
Probably when we were out in the field. The guys I was with had always told me that they thought I should have been at the very least their platoon leader, because they always kind of followed me and did what I said. And when we got out to the field for some FTX stuff, we ended up breaking out that way. The drill sergeant put me in charge of a team, a squad, and we went out and actually had to do some practice. We had to set up some ambushes. We had to go out and find some guys and that were setting up ambushes for us, and we took them out. So the drill sergeants were really happy with us, really impressed, and it was great because these were guys that, we had worked on this stuff day in and day out, and everybody had told them how they weren't squared away, how they were ate up, and we went out there and we kicked butt, and that felt really good because when the guys that was there, they were like, whatever you say, let's go do it, we'll go. We know you can tell us the right thing. That made me feel really good because the guys, I'd been with for just 2 months, and already whatever I said, they trusted me. And that felt really good. It was kind of a surprise that people trusted me that much that they would do whatever I said. And I was like, okay, well, let's go. But it was great. That was a really good feeling.
Now, what's your worst memory of basic?
One day during PT, we had a female drill sergeant, and I was in pretty good shape at the time. I'd left here working for a construction company, roofing houses and stuff like that, playing football and bodybuilding. I was in great shape, except I couldn't do sit-ups very well. Never had really done them. And I asked her one day if they always made us drop to our knees doing push-ups after so long. I didn't know if they were required to or not, and I asked her if I had to do that. She said no. The next day, when we were out doing PT, we had to do about 300 or 400 push-ups, and she blamed me. She told everybody. She said, and then she made us do a bunch more sit-ups because of the fact that I said I wasn't getting in any better shape. I'd gotten to like 260 on my PT test and stopped. And I wanted to get better than that, and she was just like smoked us and blamed me. So that night, everybody hated my guts. That really sucked. For the next 2 weeks, everybody was pissed at me. We were all sore for about 4 days. That was my worst memory.
So where'd you go to AIT?
I went to AIT at Fort Bragg.
For
civil affairs.
Civil affairs.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever think that you'd be called to active duty to a combat area?
I didn't know if I'd be called to a combat area or not, but I knew I'd be called to active duty. I was sure of that at some point. I was figuring it'd be something more along the lines of, maybe the government collapsing in Cuba, or something in Nicaragua or Honduras, but never Bosnia. I never thought I'd have to go somewhere in Europe in my lifetime. But, oh well, that's the luck of the draw. So.
When you first heard that you were being deployed to Bosnia, what was your reaction?
Well, first I didn't really believe it because I knew the president and NATO were both saying that they had no plans yet. They hadn't made up their minds. So I was like, well, I'm going to wait and see. Because as long as they were saying that, I figured, well, I always grew up thinking you should trust people that are in your chain of command, really. And I didn't think we'd really end up going because they were saying that. But then I guess the situation changed and they decided now we need to stay. So when I finally got orders is when I really finally believed it. And that didn't even really hit home that we were really going until I had time to stop and slow down for a minute because I've been so busy this year that it hit me last week. I guess Tuesday night was when it finally hit me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to Bosnia. And it was kind of weird. It was like, this should have hit me about 5 days ago, but no, and still hasn't really fazed me that much. I mean, yeah, I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna miss my family because I've never been away from them for that long, but I'm not really too worried about it. I think it's going to be an alright mission.
You have training during your monthly drills on weapons or gas mask, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Has your attitude toward the training changed since you were notified you were in Boston?
Not really. I've always thought that was something you really needed to take pretty seriously anyway. Because, like I said, I always figured at some point in time I'd be going somewhere. but I didn't know when. But no, I have pushed myself a little harder on PT just because I know I'm going to be on active duty again. And I knew I'd gotten out of shape because I'm a computer programmer. It's kind of hard to stay in shape 16 hours behind the desk every day. But no, I don't think it's really changed that much.
On television, we see Bosnia, the destruction over there. What's your reaction when you see those pictures on television, knowing that you're going to be there soon?
Well, considering how beautiful the place used to be, it's kind of disheartening, but at the same time, I've studied enough history to realize that that's probably the predominant side of human history, is that we have a tendency to tear things up, and we have a tendency to kill each other. So, looking back at our history, this is their civil war, and we did about the same thing to our country during ours. So, I kind of understand why they did that. I guess as much as anybody could understand why someone did that, just because of the fact I've studied enough history to realize that's the only way human beings know how to work things out most of the time. But at the same time, it's really saddening to think, once upon a time that was one of the most beautiful churches in the world, or one of the most beautiful cities. It's just it's too bad that we have to be that way.
And this is a classified briefing interview. Do you know what your job is going to be in Bosnia?
Yes, I do. I'm the IMO for this unit, so
which is
basically means I take care of the computer equipment, keep everything running. I'm supposed to spend almost all of my time in the top, so I'm going to be answering phones a lot, keep sending out messages to all of our guys out in the field, making sure they're comfortable, or as comfortable as they can be in 5 degree weather. But basically, I'm going to do that, and whatever the commander needs as far as computer software, equipment, whatever I can do to make the mission go a little smoother. I'm bringing some stuff with me to write some software to help us out. So as time goes by, life will get easier for our people.
Where are you going to be in Bosnia?
I'm supposed to be in Tuzla or Sarajevo, wherever the commander ends up being. Probably Tuzla is my understanding at this time.
When I say Bosnia, what's your reaction?
I'm not sure I really have a reaction just for Bosnia. What I think about when I hear Bosnia is, I still have some questions as to why we're there. I'm not sure that we're doing all that much good. It's like I said, it's their civil war, and I have a feeling that what we're actually going to end up doing is kind of pushing the tension under the surface. And anytime you do that, eventually it bubbles back up. So I'm not sure we're actually solving the problem. I have a feeling we're just kind of pacifying the people there for a short period of time, and eventually things will break back out. But I hope that maybe it'll be a successful mission. Maybe we actually will change the course of history for that part of the world and put them on the right track. But I've got some serious doubts.
Snipers.
Well, I hope I don't encounter any. I hope none of the guys encounter any. I'm more worried about them than I am myself. Like I said, I'm going to be in Tuzla. I'm going to be pretty much as secure as anybody can be. I'm going to be locked down apparently. But the guys who are going out there, I'm a little worried about them because kind of feel like they're my guys because I've been in this unit longer than most of them have, and that's my main concern. I don't want to have to try to deal with one of them getting hurt, one of them getting shot. That's my only concern there.
What would it take for you to kill someone?
For me me to kill somebody, basic, not much more than thinking that they were going to kill one of my friends. If they were going to kill somebody I was with, if I had a feeling that was the case, I think I could probably do it. I've never had any doubt that I could. But threats to myself, I tend not to react to, but threats to people that I'm friends with or that I'm close to, that usually will get a reaction out of me very quickly. But I have to always try to apply equal force. That's my rule. So.
What is the cause of the trouble in Bosnia?
It all started with, as far as I've been able to figure out, the Battle of Kosovo back in, I believe it was 640 AD, something like that. But they've been fighting just because of the fact that the Turks invaded Yugoslavia back when I believe the guy was a duke actually, but he was a prince. He was a Serbian prince, I believe. But if I remember my history right, he had set up an empire, and Yugoslavia was the center of it. The Turks invaded, kicked his butt, pushed him back, and it all started with that. It was related to the Crusades. They've just never been able to work it out.
I keep hearing this term ethnic cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it two ethnic groups?
Oh, I believe there are three. There's the Croatians, the Serbs, and then there are the Muslims. And the ethnic cleansing is, as far as I can tell, mostly on the part of the non-Islamic peoples, which has been the case for 1,000 years now. They've been trying to push out the infidels, get them out of Europe. I haven't figured out why they're still trying to do this after 1,000 years. It doesn't make much sense. If you've lived with these people and intermarried for 1,000 years, you'd think you could figure out a way to get along, but apparently they haven't. So.
Has your attitude toward your family changed?
No, still love them just as much. I know I'm going to miss them, but I know they'll be here when I get back, and I know they're all going to be okay. So that's as long as they're still here and still alright, that's all I care about.
You ever thought of the possibility that something might happen to you?
Yes, I have. That's why I made sure I had life insurance from my family. I've got $500,000 worth of life insurance, and got my will all set up so that everything's going to be taken care of. My family will be all right. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. So if something does happen to me, they're okay.
What would you tell your family if you didn't come back?
Well, that's tough. I know I'd tell them I love them. Tell my son I was real proud of it. Getting all emotional. Tell Susan I love her. And tell my mom and dad thanks. And tell my brother and my two sisters that I love them both a lot. I love them all a lot, and just take care of themselves. But mostly, main thing is tell Susan I loved her. They'll always be there. Same thing for my son. Hope that never happens.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either, but I mean, I figure I was talking to Sergeant Schofield last week, and he said the same thing that I thought is just as much chance of something happening to me driving home on the freeway as there is going over to Bosnia.
Sergeant Sykes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because he was a good friend of mine, and I miss him a lot already. I mean, I came last year not really kind of expecting to see him, I got that message, I couldn't believe it. You know, he's only 30 years old and had a heart attack. It was not, that was completely unexpected. I got home and got the call at about midnight. But I guess it happens. You gotta be prepared for it.
Yeah. Do you have any comments or statements you want to make?
No, not really. I just hope that everything goes well over there. Hope it goes well enough they can bring us home early.
Yeah. Well, special Stephen, I want to thank you. This is the end of part 1.
Okay.
Part 2 is when you come back.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I'll see you in 8 months then, so.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.